አይሰማም እንደምን ዋላችሁ? Very good. Okay, thank you very much for your cooperation and thank you as well for coming and we apologize for the inconvenience. Partly it's not our fault. It was booked and confirmed yesterday. Ayana, was it confirmed yesterday or the day before? A week ago. A week ago it was confirmed, but the library never reached us out that they're going to close today for fast Easter. So in any way, we apologize and thank you for taking the time and coming here to this place within a short period of time. This is ECAN's program, but specifically organized by the ECAN subcommittee called Education Subcommittee. ECAN has about 7 subcommittees. One of them is Education Committee, and every subcommittee has such program or conference or web seminar. In different ways, we are addressing issues that affect our community. And this is timely because this is college preparation time. And as I see, most of our audience is high school, nearing to graduate. And thank you for coming and thank you also for taking this as a valuable meeting. At the same time, I just want to say thank you for Education Committee in general. They will introduce themselves, Lydia and everybody. They are the ones who organized it and they will brief you as well. And Dr. Daniel is the chair of the Education Committee and you will see them in a few minutes. Once again, I just want to say thank you for coming and I'm sure, positive that you'll be getting valuable lessons from today's conference. All of them, if not most of them, are going to college right now and they will tell us what is the challenge, the benefits, and the way around to get to college, get scholarships, and so on and so forth. So thanks again. Without further ado, I would like to welcome Dr. Daniel, who is the chair of the Education Committee. Dr. Daniel, please.
Thank you. All right, so you can hear me without the mic, can you? Okay, so yeah, I'm a teacher, so a teacher always speaks loud. So first I would like to thank the rest of the Education Committee, Professor Omar, Professor Ayanau, and Professor Gashau and Gataye. They are the one who made these things happen, and it's not only once, it's gonna happen again and again. So the goal is just to prepare you for college and to make you more successful in college. So that's our goal. And in addition to the Education Committee, this wouldn't have happened without our dedicated student members, Salonia, who is Ethiopian Student Organization at Middle Tennessee State University president. And okay, so I would like you to stand up and introduce yourself. Sorry, I don't remember all of you.
Hi guys, my name is Soliana. I go to MTSU. I'm part of the Ethiopian Student Organization over at MTSU. I'm a biochemistry major. I'll give it to you.
Hi, my name is Tasneem. I'm currently a junior at MTSU and I'm majoring in public health. Hi, my name is Helena. I actually have graduated from Louisville University and currently work there. I graduated with my bachelor's in business administration and I'm pursuing my MBA and master's in science and sustainability.
My name is Rivka. I'm a current sophomore at Belmont University with a nursing major.
Hi, my name is Lydia. I am a junior at Vanderbilt University. I'm majoring in child development and medicine, health, and society, which is just public health. I'm minoring in data science on the pre-med track.
Hi, my name is Iman. I'm a freshman at MTSU. My major is medicine.
Hi everyone, my name I'm a senior at Vanderbilt University. I'm also the president of the Ethiopian Eritrean Student Association at Vandy. My major is child development and medicine, health, and society, which is also public health on the pre-nursing track, and I am going to go to grad school.
Hi everyone, my name is Iman. I'm a senior over at Vanderbilt studying human and organization development.
Thank you all. Let's Oh, the guys saw.
Yeah.
Well, okay, yeah, you guys go ahead. Sorry for.
I'm Barakat. I am a mechatronics student at MTSU. I'm not part of the team, but I'm here to help.
Okay, great. Where is the video? Okay. Okay, so you guys are ready? All right, so without any further delay, I will ask the students to start the workshop, please.
Hello, everybody. How are we doing?
Hi.
Good. Okay, great. So to start off this presentation, we're going to be kind of talking about your application timeline. So kind of have it mapped out as kind of like an application roadmap. So this is going to be kind of the process of whenever you start thinking about what colleges you want to go to, when you want to apply, and so on and so forth. And we'll go into more depth within all of the different slides as well. So well, first, can everybody see this okay?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. So beginning, first we want to talk about, first step is college brainstorming, excuse me. So you can think about this kind of like the summer after your sophomore year, junior year. I don't know what year everyone is at right now, but kind of thinking about, you know, what colleges are you wanting to go to? Are you wanting to stay in state? Are you wanting to go out of state? Just kind of start having that thought process around junior year is when really this whole college journey starts. So then you go to the second point, which is standardized testing. And so again, each of these points are going to be, we're going to go into more depth. So within standardized testing, I'm sure you guys have heard of SAT and ACT. Some of you guys may have already taken it. Some of you guys might have already done like PSATs, all those practice tests to kind of start looking into that kind of scoring, since that's going to be taken into consideration a lot of the times for your college applications. And so you'll want to start taking that maybe around your sophomore year, especially your junior year, and take it multiple times, just because you need to learn how to take the test and then learn what your strengths are, what your weaknesses are, and how you can build upon that. Third point is you're wanting to build relationships with your teachers. So specifically the fall of your junior year is what I recommend. You may hear from other presenters too, how important it is to build your relationships with your teachers. And it's important because you're gonna want these relationships for, one, letters of recommendations. You're gonna need that for your college applications from your different teachers. And then also they can help just with your college application as a whole. You'll have essays, personal statements, things of that sort. Even if it's essays for scholarships, you'll want your teachers to kind of help you with that in terms of whether it's proofreading, ideas, all that good stuff. Fourth point is building a resume. So you're going to be building a resume, maybe not to the same degree as, you know, like as if for a job, but in terms of your academic and just personal resume for your college application. So you're gonna wanna join clubs. We'll talk about why that's important, having extracurricular activities and passions and why that matters. Take on leadership roles if you can, and then on top of that, what's also very important, which I'm sure you guys all know, is to keep up with your academics. So it can be hard to balance both, you know, having extracurricular activities and then your educational or academic obligations as well, but that's also extremely important. Then to the fifth point, college visits. So that is going to take place ideally, you can start earlier, but junior year is when, at least I remember, I'm a little bit older, but I remember junior year, that's when I started doing my college visits. We go to Belmont, Lipscomb, Vandy, whatever it may be, if you're wanting to stay within the Nashville area. So you'll want to take those tours because it helps determine what types of colleges you would want to attend. Whether it be private, whether it be public, we'll go into more depth about what that looks like. But just so that way you have a better idea and you can get a feel of, is this the right school for me? Am I going to thrive? Am I going to succeed at this school? And then to the sixth point, once you finish your junior year, or let's say it's the summer before your senior year, you're gonna wanna start creating a schedule. So looking at, what does my academic schedule look like? What kind of classes am I taking? Again, you're gonna wanna keep up with your academics and keep your GPA at a good average, just because once you're a senior and let's say you get into a college that you're really happy with, they still look at your GPA even after you get accepted up until graduation. So you can't be slacking off your senior year. And then also it's important to create that schedule in terms of, again, balancing what kind of extracurriculars and passions that you're gonna have that can also build your resume. And so once you get into your senior year, this will get into my seventh point, so college apps. So that's when you'll start actually doing your applications for different colleges and what colleges you want to apply to. And again, you'll refer back to these different points that I've mentioned. So going back to teachers for letters of recommendations and looking at kind of an overview of what you've done within your high school career in terms of what kind of clubs did I do and all that good stuff. And a lot of students will apply through Common App. If you haven't heard of that, you'll get very familiar with it, I'm sure. And then eighth point is financial aid, which we'll go into a lot more depth, but financial aid can be, I'm just gonna warn you now, it can be very confusing. So it takes time. Even college students, I know when I was in college, like understanding what financial aid is, what kind of scholarships, what kind of grants, loans, all that good stuff, it takes time. Don't be scared to ask questions to learn more about that from any resource that you have, whether it be from the university itself or any other people that you can ask questions. So from October to December of your senior year, try and keep up with FAFSA. We'll go into more depth about FAFSA. Some of y'all may have already heard about it or maybe started already applying. That's where you'll get federal grant money from the government. And so always be keeping up with that, because there's sometimes where you'll have to make corrections. But again, we'll go into more depth, and always be looking out for like scholarships and how you want to apply. And then lastly, on the roadmap, interviews. So we wanted to include this just because it can be kind of situational. So depending on where you are applying to school or what kind of scholarships, you might have college admission interviews, and then also you might have interviews for different scholarship opportunities. So always practice your interview skills. And that's gonna be not only important for college admissions and scholarships, but practicing how to interview is very important in terms of once you graduate college and you're applying for jobs, you're gonna do an interview. So always practice interview skills. That'll always help you. And then the next slide, I just have some key deadlines to remember, and this slide will be, these slides, you'll always be able, I think you'll be able to reference them later too, but big thing is early decision. So within your college application process, early decision deadlines for whatever college you want to apply to. So early decision and early action, they look very similar, but there is a difference. So with early decision, you apply to that college, and if you were to get accepted into that college, it's kind of a binding agreement, so you have to go to that college. Early action, you can apply early, but you're not going to be binded to go to that said college or university. Does that make sense? Okay. And then also another thing to look out for is regular decision deadlines. So for any university, if you're just applying regular decision, if you're not, if you need it for backup schools or just other schools that you're interested in applying in, if you have no interest in applying early, regular decision deadlines are typically from early January to mid-February. FAFSA, again, we'll go into that a little bit more. It kind of depends on your school as well. Different schools have different deadlines, but if you're not sure what school you want to go to, the federal deadline for FAFSA is June 30th. And then scholarship deadlines, just always be on the lookout for those. Those always depend on what kind of scholarships you're applying for. And then last is kind of a fun one, it's decision day. So May 1st is decision day. Most students, it's kind of like a national holiday that a lot of high school students and college universities kind of like to celebrate. If you know what college you're going to, that's when typically a lot of students will announce what school they're going to. So.
So next, I'm going to be talking about the different types of colleges. So this is applicable to in-state, out-of-state schools. There's public and private schools. Public schools are more, they're funded by local and state government, and they tend to be a lot cheaper on the front end for like students. And they also tend to have larger class sizes. So I know like especially with your intro classes, they can be around 300 students. So some examples of public schools in Nashville include University of Tennessee at Knoxville and Middle Tennessee State University. Versus private schools, they rely on tuition fees and non-government funding sources like donations, and those tend to be more expensive towards the student, but they also they tend to give more generous financial aid packages, and they also tend to have smaller class sizes. So some examples of private schools include Belmont University and Vanderbilt University. There are liberal arts colleges, and they offer a wide variety of courses like literature, history, math, sciences. They usually tend to offer the bachelor's degree, which is a 4-year degree program, which I'll talk about a little bit later on. And they're also usually private institutions, and they prepare for various careers and graduate education. So if that's something that you're interested in, you can definitely do your research into that. And then there's also 4 years and 2 years institutions. So a 4-year institution is generally what you would think about with a college or university. They offer a bachelor degree program after 4 years in the name. And then your 2-year institutions, such as community colleges or a vocational technical college, they offer an associate's degree program, and they train you for a very specific career. Also, along with that, there's campus visits, which Helena talked about. You should aim to do them around your junior year. I remember I did mine around my spring break, so yeah, so how do you schedule a campus visit? You can go on your college's homepage, and most of the time on the university's homepage, there's a plan a visit link, and you just click that and you schedule an appointment. And especially post-age COVID, there's like virtual tour options, which you can definitely go into that and look before your college visit to like make your experience more like personal. And what to do when you're there. Make sure you ask questions to your campus guide. You want to know if that school is a good fit for you. Asking what it's like to live there. What are the best parts of the school? What would you change? Or questions about your degree or your major. Visiting your specific academic department if you know what kind of school you want to go into. Exploring different clubs and organizations that the school hosts, and those also tend to be on the school's homepage as well. You can learn about the local community, so if you plan to go to school out of state, learning about the city, what there is to do there, just things that you're interested in, and also be sure to ask about financial aid information, which I know we will get into later, but asking during your campus visit can definitely be very helpful for you.
Okay, so I'm going to talk about academic preparation. From most of the things that we're going to talk about, this is probably the things that you're going to be able to do right now before you get into college. So first and foremost, I'm going to talk about classes and GPA, since this is like the most important part of your college application, and this is what would determine if you get into the said college. Organization, so time management, note-taking, study skills, and reading and writing. Okay, so with classes and GPA, take classes that you're interested in and that are a bit more challenging, because colleges like to see if you have a rigorous schedule, particularly in your junior and senior year. They want to see that you're going to be able to go to these classes and get the grades that they want to see. So they want to see that you're doing well in the degree programs. So classes you could take are advanced placement classes, IB classes, dual enrollment, and honors. Mostly AP and IB. If you do really well on them, it can count towards college credit. So I did really well in my calculus class and my English class, so I got to skip English composition, so that's like the base level of English, and then my calculus class, so that's 8 credits, more like 11 credits that I didn't have to take in college. So that's something that you guys should really think about doing. Reading and writing skills. Okay, so most of the coursework in college is reading and writing. I think everyone can attest to this. You will be writing almost every single week. Papers are like 5 pages and longer. Like, I took a chemistry class. You would assume in chemistry you wouldn't be writing. No. I had a lab report that was almost 8 pages. This was my freshman year. The paper to the left was like 20 pages at least. So reading and writing is like the most important things that you should be doing right now. So take an upper level English course, expose yourself to research papers, expand your vocabulary, because a lot of the time the jargon that they use in university is really, really tough. So, and then reading during your free time, it's a lot easier if you've already had that skill of reading long papers or even books, like the books that you like. So make sure you're doing that during your free time. Organization. So once you're in college, you don't have your parent behind you telling you to go study, go read a book, and like taking you places. So note taking, when you're in lectures, it's really important to like jot as many important points that your professor talks about, because they're either going to post those lectures afterwards or sometimes they don't. So you only have one chance to get that opportunity to be with them. So note taking is very important. Time management, make sure that you know the assignments that you're taking or assignments that are going to be due, because most of the time they will not tell you if an assignment is coming up. They'll just be like, I told you in the beginning of the semester. If you don't know, that's your fault. So make sure that you're taking the time to write down those assignments starting now. And then study strategies. I think also everyone can attest to this as well, that I feel like if we knew how to study beforehand, we would have done so much better during our freshman year. So finding out like a study strategy that helps for you, whether that be Quizlet, whether that be writing down notes on a note card and studying it that way. But yeah, study strategies, time management, note taking, and practice.
Thank you, Lydia. I didn't get to introduce myself. I'm Nebiu Hermes. I'm a third-year student at Belmont University. I want to plug Belmont in real quick. Belmont is the best school in Nashville. I don't care what anybody says. Belmont has grown over the past decade, and the amount of opportunities at Belmont are, they're great. And I would say if you're thinking about staying in Nashville, apply to Belmont. A lot of resources. Anyways, I'm here to talk about standardized testing today. I'm sure a lot of us know about standardized testing, and we probably hate standardized tests. Growing up, elementary school, we've had TCAP. We all know about TCAP and TN-Ready. I think they changed it a little bit down the line. But standardized testing are pretty much consistent tests that every student takes, primarily for governments to keep track of like how students are doing in those schools and how they do school rankings and things of that nature. So they weren't really important when we were younger, but now they're really important, especially nowadays. I'm gonna talk a little bit later down the line how maybe some colleges aren't taking standardized tests anymore, but the majority of them are. And so having that look good on your resume and having a good score is very important for your application. And so we have two major standardized tests. Two major standardized tests, the ACT as well as the SAT. I'm not going to go too much into depth about it. I just have general information here about it. ACT, American College Testing, 4 sections, English, Math, Reading, and Science. I'm sure most of you guys know about the ACT. It scared me. It was the most stressful time of my high school career. I started off at a really low score. I wasn't focused going in, but it's something that you can easily work towards. It's not unachievable. So if you've heard about the ACT and it's kind of scary to you when you think about it, don't worry. Practice is a big part of it. SAT, me personally, I never took it. I know a little bit about it. The good thing is that colleges take both the ACT and the SAT. So it's good, I'll get into it later, but it's good to take both. Whichever, you take a practice test for both of them. If you do good on one of them and you know that you can excel in those specific subjects, and take that test. And so English, Math, Reading, and Science, there's also an optional writing section. It's about 2 hours and 55 minutes, the longest 2 hours and 55 minutes of your life. And then SAT, the Scholastic Assessment Test, reading, writing, and language, as well as math with and without a calculator. I didn't take it, but I guess somebody, if you guys want to come up, whoever took it, you guys can add a little bit about that. and there's also an optional essay section. Next slide. And so the importance of standardized testing. Like I said earlier, colleges use it to assess your preparation. So it says a lot about you when you take a standardized test and you do good on it. It shows that you prepared for that test, that you were disciplined enough to prepare for that test, that you set time aside in order to actually do good on that test, so that you can appear to be a good student to colleges. And so standardized test is a big part of your application. And they compare it to students. So obviously the whole United States is taking either ACT or SAT. And so they're comparing you to thousands and hundreds of thousands of other children. And so it's very important that if you want to have a competitive application, that you're focusing on your standardized testing. And it also predicts student success. The main goal that colleges, I think this is very important to keep in mind, colleges want to bring students to their school that they know will leave that school and do great things in their life. They don't want to pick you up just because, oh, you have a good GPA, you have a good SAT score, whatever. Okay, you're gonna do good at my school, come on. No, they want to know, they want their name attached to your name. So when you go out into the real world, they're gonna say, hey, he went to Belmont University. Belmont must be a good school. They prepared him like this, they're doing the things of that nature. And so, with that being said, standardized tests predict how you're going to do into those schools. Next, merit-based scholarships. Obviously, if you do good on a test, they're going to want to give you money because they want you to go to their school, right? And so, you do good, you prepare for these standardized tests, you're going to get into these schools, and they're going to give you money to go to these schools because they really want you to come to these schools. The next thing, it's considered along other factors. So you have GPA, you have extracurricular activities, you have letters of recommendation, and you have essays that you need to write. I wouldn't say that it's measured equally with the other factors. Nowadays, it does have it weighs a little bit more than these factors, but I would say focus on it just as much as you would the others. So quick tips, I'm just gonna run through these. Start early, like start right now. Whatever point, as long as you're in high school, I would say just start now. Just start, maybe understand the formatting and prepare. Understand the test. Each test has specific strategies that you could use. And these strategies are key, I promise you. If you memorize the strategies, you will improve by 8+ points. Has anybody taken practice tests before for ACT or SAT? So you guys know strategies. You've probably heard that word a lot. And so memorizing these strategies for these tests. Take practice tests, like Helena said. Practice tests are really, really important. They let you know where you're at in the process and correct your errors. Focus on weak areas. That's pretty cutthroat. Use high quality study materials. And that's just things like, that's something stuff like easy Google search you can find where I can't think of any off the top of my head. I don't know why I'm blanking, but there are a lot of like top name brands that have ideal study materials. Manage anxiety. Anxiety is a big part of it. I know, especially with our generation, anxiety is a big deal. And going into a test and not feeling prepared is the worst thing you could ever do. So, looking up strategies. I'm a Christian. God is my idol, and so like praying about it is a big part of it, as well as like replicating what you're going to do on that test day. I personally didn't do this, but I've heard this be a successful formula. So let's say you have a test 3 weeks down the line, and so when that 3 weeks prior point hits, you go to a library, you go to a quiet room, and you kind of just replicate exactly, like you wake up that morning, same time that you're going to wake up on the test day, you eat the same breakfast, and you do that repeatedly until you get to that test day, and then you will, when test day comes, you can replicate the final product. And finally, I would say seek help and answer every question. A question that you don't answer only hurts you. Guessing is not bad. It's worse if you leave a question blank than just simply not answer. Next slide, please. Yes, and just frequently ask questions. Should I take both tests? I talked about this earlier. Most colleges accept either one, so just I would say take a practice test for both. When should I take the test? As early as possible. Obviously, it says take the test in your junior year. I would say just start taking practice tests early to see where you're at. That's just the best piece of advice. Obviously, there are some stuff on the test that you just simply might not know, but just being ahead of the game is always better. How many times can I take it? As many times as you want, but don't take it too many times. Me personally, I took it 6 times because I did terrible. I'm gonna be real. My first test, I got a 16. And don't worry about where you start. I ended up going up 10 points. My final score was at 26. And so, which is not the best score. I want everybody in here to get at least a 30 plus on the ACT specifically. But it was enough for me. I wasn't the brightest student in high school, but I've come a long way from that. And so I took it a lot of times. I would say colleges notice how many times that you take it. You don't have to submit every score, but they will notice that you've took it a number of attempts. They will notice the number of attempts that you took, and in some instances they may praise your score improvements, but that might also go against you in some cases. To speed up through this, what if the college doesn't use standardized tests? This has come up recently. Some colleges are seeing that standardized tests maybe aren't as descriptive of our personality, or they just don't exemplify who we are as a people, as a person, as an applicant. And so, in the cases where standardized tests aren't an option, and kind of tying into that second question, can I use test optional policies? They look towards GPA and extracurriculars, essays, letters of rec. I'm just going to talk about it a little bit. Your application is a story. It's a story of who you are. So when the admissions blah 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 people, they see your application, and they're pretty much reading your bio. They say, okay, this is him. This is what he's done the past couple of years. This is what I can learn about this person, and that's how they decide if they want to accept you or not. And so if they're not taking standardized tests, then they're looking at these other things to show who you are. Yes, and I'm gonna pass it to Tasneem from MTSU to talk about extracurriculars.
Okay, so the next segment that we'll be going over is extracurriculars and passions. Extracurriculars are just a way for colleges to get to know you a little better. As you said earlier, colleges are just trying to get to know you through your application, and this is one of the ways that colleges can get to see who you are. So why are extracurriculars so important? They help you stand out to colleges. As we all know, the college application process is very competitive, and this just helps you stand out as an applicant. You get to explore your interests beyond academics.
Put the mic closer.
Oh, sorry. School isn't just academics. It's also, just getting to figure out who you are, as a person, what contributions you want to make to society. You get to form meaningful connections and develop essential life skills. I was able to learn how to network through my extracurriculars in high school, so that's a very essential skill that you need to have. Some types of extracurriculars are clubs and competitions, sports, that's a very big one, community service, volunteering, leadership roles, arts, creative pursuits, hobbies, personal interests. Some tips for exploring your passions are to reflect on what genuinely excites you. Don't just do something just to do it. Do something that you're genuinely interested in. And it kind of ties back into, colleges trying to figure out who you are. Do things that align with your values, so that way the colleges that look at your applications can see the kind of person that you are. Try out different activities that will help you determine your strengths and your preferences. If you're trying to get into a certain career field, this is a really great way to explore whether that career field is for you or not. Yeah. So just the general takeaway from this segment is that extracurriculars are not just check boxes that you want to, check off on your application. Just kind of use them as a way, see it as an opportunity for you to explore yourself and grow as a person and just embrace them. I'll be passing the mic back to Lydia.
Okay, hey guys, I'm back. So there was another girl named Akidan. She works at Lipscomb in the financial aid office, but she couldn't make it today, so I'm gonna be taking over her part. So for financial aid and scholarships, I think I touched on this earlier, it can be very confusing and it's a lot of information at once. So I'm gonna try and summarize the information that she gave me. But if you have additional questions, she's the best person to contact and we can get her contact info. So there are different types of financial aid and scholarships that you can get for different universities, and she tried to make it as general as possible so it can apply to any schools that you guys might be interested in attending. So different types of aid will include like institutional scholarships or outside scholarships. You can have federal merit and need-based scholarships. So with scholarships specifically, a lot of schools will do it on merit-based. And sometimes, as we've mentioned, it aids, you can get scholarship or financial aid through extracurriculars that you're involved in. So let's say you're involved in a certain club that might be a part of, that has like a certain chapter for a national organization. You can get scholarships based off that way. A lot of times you'll get aid for need-based. So that's based on your family income, and they'll universities will try and meet your needs standards. Sometimes they'll collab with the government in that regard. But one key thing to note is all schools have to present scholarships. So it should be on their website, but if it's not there for some reason, it should be. You can always call financial aid or the admissions department within that school to learn how to fulfill whatever standards or requirements universities have for their scholarships. So that information always has to be presented and it always has to be made available to students. So outside of that, there's also federal loans. So a lot of students take loans in terms of paying for school. One thing to note is with loans, you can have a 6-month grace period after graduation. And then also you can stack loans. So you can take multiple loans and stack them. Everyone's financial situation looks different. If you don't have to take loans, great. But if you do, that's also okay. It's very much, everyone does it all the time. You're not gonna be looked at any kind of way. It's hard out here, so it's very understandable. So in terms of federal loans, there's 2 types. There is subsidized and unsubsidized. So subsidized basically means that it doesn't start building interest until the 6 months after you graduate. So like I said, there's that 6-month grace period that you don't have to pay loans, but after that 6-month grace period is over, that's when interest will start. And then with unsubsidized loans, that the interest starts building immediately as soon as you take on the loan. So interest rates can differ every year, but normally it's around like 5 to 8% from what I understood for Alkidan. And then there's also parent loans that you can also add on as well. And so for the parents, if y'all want to pay attention to this part, parent plus loans are also something that can help in terms of stacking loans for your student. So it can be given in addition to your own loan under your name. So, but there will be like a credit check that's done, but that's just something to look out for. So if you ever need to take, if you ever need additional loans in that regard. But also all of this information is on studentaid.gov. So that's a website, I would write that down, it's studentaid.gov. It has all of the information on federal loans, and it has broken down like really, really well from what Alkidan told me too, so that's also there. In addition to federal loans, there's also alternative or like private loans. Alkidan told me don't take private loans if you don't have to. Stay away from Sallie Mae as much as possible. You'll probably learn a little bit more about Sallie Mae as you get older into college, but again, everyone has different financial situations, so it kind of depends. If you can avoid private loans, avoid them as much as you can. And then in addition to that, there are grants. So talking about like FAFSA, it's new this year, it's new for every freshman.
or whenever you do apply for college. It'll be new, it takes time, corrections might need to be made, so you need to check that continuously. And also your parents will be involved in that process in terms of FAFSA, so like you'll have your own account, parents will have to make their own account because FAFSA is based off of family income. And then you can get a Pell Grant, so that, again, that depends on your family income. And then there's also the Hope Scholarship. So Tennessee Hope goes into goes up into 3 semesters. So for example, there's a little bit more information here. So for like freshmen or transfer students, that Hope Scholarship can be applied to you. There is a minimum GPA requirement of 2.7 or 3.0 are within that gap. And then it's available for the fall, spring, and summer semesters, and you don't have to live like on or off. It doesn't matter where you live. Some students live on campus, some commute, so that won't matter in regards to that. Again, Pell Grant, so the renewal minimum, so again, so whenever you're starting your next semester or next year, the GPA requirement is 2.0. Same idea in terms of it's available for fall, spring, and summer. And then whether you live on or off campus, that doesn't matter. And then there is the Tennessee State Grant. This is only applicable to Tennessee residents, so you all should be great. And you, again, so the minimum GPA requirement is 2.0. Again, this is only available for fall and spring semester, and your housing status does not matter. And then last grant that we have is the SOG grant. So there's not a really specific GPA requirement, but they'll kind of work with you on that depending on where you're at, but it's available fall and spring semesters, and your housing does not really matter. And then in terms of getting aid from FAFSA, kind of going back to that, it has to be completed, so make sure that you're getting that done. I can't reiterate that enough. There's a lot of times where FAFSA will come back and make you do verification, and you might have to resubmit information. They'll randomly select people, just, I don't know, they do it as a random drawing and make you resubmit information all the time. So always, always, always be keeping up with FAFSA, the information you're submitting get it as accurate as possible. I know it can be hard, but if you have additional questions with that, your financial aid office should be available to help answer those questions and walk you through that process. I know from what Akidan has told me, she has had to sit down with not only freshmen, but like juniors and seniors in college, walking them through, this is what this loan looks like, this is what this scholarship looks like, this is what happens when it's broken down. So no question is a dumb question. Always ask questions to get more information, because this can be very, very, very confusing. Yeah.
Okay, hi. I just want to like add a little something to the financial aid and scholarship part. So don't see scholarships just as a way of like paying for college, because like the summer after my junior year, like I sat down and I applied for like 30 scholarships. I applied to like every single one I could find, like in Tennessee, international, just like whatever. And I ended up winning more than half of them, and now I'm getting paid to go to college. So see scholarship as a way of like even getting paid to go to college, not just as a way to like pay for college. So just something to keep in mind. There is a ton of outside scholarships out there. There's a lot of them. So just like sit down and like dedicate some time to like apply, start research about them and like apply. And I'm sure you'll qualify to like a lot of them. So just a little something that I wanted to talk about, letters of recommendation. So what are letters of recommendation? I'm sorry, you couldn't hear me earlier. But letters of recommendations are just like letters that someone you know in an academic setting or like a professional setting, it could also be personally, can write about you just in a way to like vouch for you and saying, hey, I know them. And I guess in terms of like college application, they'll vouch for you, saying that like you'll do well in college. And it's like recommended that your teachers from like your junior year or senior year of high school write these recommendation letters for you. And it's also recommended that having your teachers that teach classes that align with your interests write those recommendation letters for you. So by that I mean like if you're interested in going into medicine, let's say nursing, having your teacher, like your AP biology or dual biology teacher, write that recommendation letter for you would really help emphasize your abilities. Just like a few guidelines on like how to ask for like recommendation letters, I would say first choose the right teachers. Make sure it goes back to like what someone was saying earlier. Just building really good and like personal relationships with your high school teachers will really help you when you're asking for recommendation letters. So make sure you choose teachers that know you really well, and not just like, oh, I'm making a good grade in this class, but just choose teachers that really know you well. And I will say to ask in person. So just like a little personal example, like I'm in the process of applying to grad schools right now, and I had to like go around and see, like talk to teachers to see who's like the most enthusiastic about writing me a recommendation letter. So you go to, if you ask them in person, you'll see their reaction. Like some of them will be like, oh, I'll be happy to write you like a strong recommendation letter. And then someone else could be like, oh yeah, I can write you a recommendation letter. So don't choose those teachers. And then the third part will be providing like some information and materials for your teachers. So you could send them your resume or your personal statement, just so they have it like as a guide to like write about your interest as well. And I'll also say give them time. Don't just like show up a week before the deadline and be like, oh, could you please write me a recommendation letter? I'm pretty sure the answer is probably going to be no, unless they really, really like you. So make sure at least give them like a couple months in advance. That way, you know, the recommendation letter will be good. And also after that, just follow up. Like people are busy, they have their own, you know, lives going on. So just like follow up a week or two before, just to remind them to write you their recommendation letter. And after that, just like send a thank you note, or just like meet them in person and be like, yo, thank you, not you, but just say thank you. And yeah, that's really all about recommendation letters. Yes, and then next person.